All right, so if we need to bring in a AutoCAD file for a survey, the first thing that we need to do is, one, make sure that we're in the right plan. Like, let's say if it is a site plan, I'm going to actually duplicate these real quickly, just to say this is a site plan. Okay, it's not the real site plan, but I'm gonna call it a site plan, site plan. All right, so we use CAD files from the surveyors to create our site plans, and we use them as a background that represents the real dimensions of your lot, the real conditions. So we always work with those. I'm gonna close these guys out real quick so that we don't have any competing information or anything that may be confusing. I'm just gonna get rid of all that stuff very quickly. Close all that. So that's it. Disregard all of these unrelated elements. We don't care about any of those. We don't care about any of that. So let's say this is a little bit like our little building plan, and we're gonna bring our site. Step one, you go into insert. Step two, import CAD. Step three, after you go into import CAD, you're gonna find your CAD file. I've made it easy for me, and I've copied the path to where our CAD file is located. So I'm gonna use that, click on that, enter, and it brings our CAD file. You select it. Make sure that you use current view only, otherwise it's gonna show up in every single one of your views. And sometimes you don't want that because it's gonna make the model messy. It will auto-select your units. You don't have to tell it what units it is. It will auto-select it. If you have a Flow Design Architects template, it will likely bring it in already to scale. You don't have to do anything with it. But this one particularly is not a Flow Design template. So I'm gonna see how it comes in. We'll bring it. Some errors always come because it's CAD and it's coming into Revit and there's things that probably don't translate. It is what it is. You disregard any of these things, and then now we gotta find it. Oftentimes, the coordinates of Revit and the coordinates of CAD are not one-to-one. They're not in synchronization. So you have to find it. And you see, like, I have to do zoom out and something like that to find it. This is what I mean. Like, you gotta change the zoom to be able to find it. And look, it's finding something right here, tiny, 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 tiny. And that's your survey right now, okay? It's super tiny, it's right there. It's a little messy. So what I do also is that I like to move this guy away from me. I like to turn my thin lines on, and we're gonna need to scale this. Now, if the CAD file comes in clean, you don't have this big, massive box. But turns out that our survey crew brought this CAD file with a bunch of stuff. Like, actually, it's just this little dummy line. Ideally, the surveyor will clean it. And you have the authority to send an email to the surveyor and say, listen, your CAD file is not clean. There's something flying around and it's wasting my time. Can you please send it back cleaned up? That's not rude. That's not rude. It just makes your job easier. And, they will want to do the same if you send them the proposal in CAD. They want it clean. So that's it. You have it here. It's a little annoying that this thing, it gets big like that. It's just really not fun. So it's becoming really difficult for me to even work with it because it's highlighting this whole thing and it's just crazy. So, but we'll try to do our best. So now you unpin it so that you can move it. It allows you to move it. That's good. So now you can move it. It always comes in pin. And the other thing is, if you're going to scale it, you shouldn't have to. You should not have to scale it. It should come in scale. But if it's not scale, you're gonna do the following. One, make sure this is straight. The front, like these lines are straight. How do you know? If you do PI and you take a dimension from the front of the house to this piece and it doesn't want to pin, it means that they're not orthogonal to each other. So what I do is detail line. I find this intersection and I press shift and draw a very long line, straight. Shift, straight. Then I come in and say, AL, align. Enter, click on that, and then I'm gonna find my front line and I'm gonna align it. Now this line is actually aligned. But it looks like your building is not. So you're like, well, what do I do? What do I do? Which one do I do? So I rather your building is straight than your building not being straight. That's first. So I'd rather align the building. I'm gonna delete that. Align your building. Now your building is aligned, beautiful. I will leave my lines, the property lines alone. I don't mess with that stuff. What I do next is that I'm going to scale it. You can pick a dimension that you know. For instance, we know this dimension. You can pick whichever is the cleanest, like a very clean dimension. You're gonna use that clean dimension as a reference to do your piece. So this is not a bad one. You can pick from here to here, or that 45 is pretty clean. Let's just do this 11.6. So you select your element that you're gonna scale. You're gonna come into this rectangle, which is RE. You're gonna click it. You're gonna click one point here. You're gonna click another point here. And what's the dimension? 11.5? Well, yeah, you're right. 11.6. My bad. Hold on. So we're gonna come here again. Let's do it again. From here to that line, 11.6 feet. That's scale. So when you do a dimension from here to there, if it lets you, if they're orthogonal, it looks like they're not orthogonal, so that's a problem. They should be orthogonal. But that's kind of like, it's plus or minus correct. I mean, actually remember 11.6 is now this is inches, not decimal feet. Close, pretty close. You can verify with something else. Like you can go here and say, okay, what is this? It's supposed to be 45. That's not 45. What's going on? Oh, I think I picked the wrong one. Okay. So that line and that line is what's 45. Yeah. So we can scale it again. So you can come here, select it, say from you to you, you have to be 45 feet. Period. That's it. 45 feet. We got it. That's it. We're done. So we verify those dimensions. Click here and here. Sometimes it's because it's not orthogonal, So what I do is I just sometimes do a straight line, pressing shift, and go here and here. All right, so that's 8 point. Yeah, that's about right. And generally that's good. And that's already scaled. But by the way, I'm gonna undo all of this. And you're like, why are you gonna undo all of this? Because I think these dimensions came in right already. They were correct already. All right. So this is before I scale it. And let's say if I do from here to here, you see, it was already correct. This was already correct. So that's what I mean. Oftentimes you don't have to scale anything. You just have to bring this baby using a corner that like let's say this is the corner, and you find your building where it is on your side plan. I don't know where it is right now, and this is really big and lost because of the fact that CAD file has that little line. When you find it and you drop it right on the center corner of your building. Okay? That's the way to go. You don't have to do anything else. It comes in already like it should. And then you just trace it using your side plan and make it all beautiful and clean. And you don't even need to trace it. You leave the CAD. Like you can actually just make sure that the colors are, you go and override and making sure that the colors are black because it comes in color and things like that. You see how, this one came in black, which is great. But sometimes they come in colors. All right, and that's about it. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. That's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So if any questions, please comment in the section below. Subscribe, like, and share.